Love you, sis.
Love you too.
In order to understand the bond between this army of one, you must first understand the battle, the bloodshed.
I was listening to hymnals and seeing flags folded on average about 3 or 4 times a week.
The horror.
They violated me in a way that took a piece of me I can never get back.
And the tragedy that happened March 30th, 2007.
The mother's performing CPR right now.
Okay, do you know what happened?
No. Ma'am, the operator needs to know what happened. Oh my God, no!
In the days leading up to that cry for help, 9-month-old Bryce Balford was doing what he did best.
He could always put you in a good mood because he would just giggle.
But these would be some of the last images of Jared and Lynn Balford's bouncing baby boy.
The klaxon went off inside the ambulance. It's a pediatric emergency.
We have a toddler that's passed out and not doing well.
Baby Bryce never got dropped off at daycare that spring morning. But his mother, who was dealing with a crisis at work, would not realize her tragic mistake until 3 that afternoon, when Bryce's worried sitter was finally able to reach her.
She said to me, "No, Lynn, you didn't drop him off." And I immediately, my heart stopped.
But Bryce, bundled tightly that cool March morning, was exactly where Lynn left him 7 hours earlier, here in the parking lot at the JAG school at UVA. She ran outside to find him.
And I ran to the car and I opened the door, and that's where I found him. And he was not breathing.
Balfour would perform CPR on her lifeless son until help arrived.
But the one thing I remember was that a gentleman got out of the back and he was in uniform. He was in Army uniform. And I thought to myself, everything's gonna be okay.
That gentleman was fellow Army reservist and medic Landon Steele.
I rode on top of Bryce's chest. I continued compressions on him all the way into the ER bay. It was no longer just a patient. It was no longer just a child. It was a military child.
A child Landon soon realizes he had met just days earlier during a brief encounter with Transportation Officer Balfour at the JAG school.
This was the first time that I was ever scared. It was the first time that I ever actually prayed to myself over this, small baby. I was begging God. At that point, I was begging. I would have done anything to save him.
But despite their efforts, young Bryce was pronounced dead at the hospital.
That my son was gone and he was lost because I forgot him. How can you forget your own child? How can you forget your child?
Balfour would be arrested and tried for second-degree murder, but she would be acquitted by the jury, in part due to the words of the man in uniform who tried to save her baby's life. He flew all the way back from Iraq to testify on her behalf.
Not everybody can have a happy ending. It reestablished my faith in the person that's supposed to have my back always.
Balfour says that faith was destroyed a year before Bryce was born, while serving in Hawaii.
If someone broke into my room or gained entry into my room, and in the middle of the night it was pitch black, and he assaulted me, he raped me.
A secret she's kept for more than a decade, and for the first time is sharing publicly.
It became very suicidal.
And you come back half of who you were, but there's this dirty other person, 50%, that comes back as well, and it doesn't fit in here. And the only people who understand are people who had been through it.
Balfour, like Steele, was diagnosed with severe depression and post-traumatic stress disorder.
From going through the counseling now to see the way that things are connected, and that is very possibly the cause of why I forgot that day, is very hard to deal with.
Do you feel like it could have been prevented?
Had you been in treatment?
Oh, absolutely.
My name is Dan York. I'm the founder of VetRest.
Balfour credits this Major General for the courage to seek treatment at Walter Reed Hospital and continue her healing through his nonprofit, VetRest.
We belong to a club that nobody wants to be a part of, but it's reality. And we need to look at other options and avenues in order to support ourselves, to heal ourselves. And that's what VetRest's goal is.
And although these reunited soldiers can't erase the hurt from on or off the battlefield, they have made it their mission to help their fellow brothers and sisters for as long as it takes.
The positive part of the story is that's why we're here. That's why we love each other. That's why we support each other, is because this is what we're supposed to do to heal. And I think that this was the plan. Tragedy can bore miracles.
Lynn Balfour was recently named the Washington, D.C. director of VetRest. The first person she hired was Landon Steele. To learn more about the organization, you can log on to our website, WTVR.com. Meanwhile, the military is actively investigating Balfour's sexual assault claim. She is now seeking a medical retirement from the military. Working for you in the studio tonight, Laura French, CBS 6 News.